Welcome back, everybody. It is the Awesemo.com Nhl Dfs strategy show. We have a Big Ten gamer to talk about for tonight. I'm Jake Hari, joined by Slim Cliffy, Michael Clifford. How was your Wednesday night last night? First night after the NBA All-Star break. I figured I would just bink everything because I had a brutal NBA All-Star break. That did not happen. So how'd yours go?
Yeah, I didn't bank anything anyway, or either. Small profit, which I will take because anytime you can eke out a small profit on a slate where somebody goes absolutely nuclear like Leon Draisaitl did, I will take it. Had some Edmonton and Montreal stacks, which kind of worked out. It was kind of a weird slate because Edmonton won, obviously just throttled everybody, but it seemed like another one of those nights where it was like, I think you're seeing it more and more. It's kind of, you're seeing like 4-1-1-1-1 stacks. You know what I mean? Like people will have a core of like 4 Winnipeg or 4 Toronto or 4 Edmonton players, and then they'll just mix in, pretty much 4 one-offs besides that.
Yeah.
Worked last night because it was a PP stack that came through, but I think it's something to think about probably on smaller slates more than we've talked about.
Yeah, especially on like a smaller slate like yesterday with 5 games. You had 2 really popular lines, one being Edmonton, one being Colorado, one, and their pricing was pretty restrictive. So like if you were just going to go 3-3 stack with them, first of all, you got a good chance of being duped, and then you're limited to the number of lines you can do. If you take away a little bit of correlation, and go like with a couple one-offs or one one-off, it differentiates you a little bit better. So that was something I was experimenting with. So congrats to everyone who had Edmonton. It was over pretty quick.
Congrats to anybody that had Dylan Coughlin.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest things I've seen in the last like 4 or 5 years doing this. A hat trick on the night that he got his first NHL goal as a defenseman. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not like this guy shoots a lot either, but last night he was just firing away, got a couple screens in front of the net, and ended up with a hat trick. I did not have a single Dylan Coughlin share. Is it Coughlin or Coughlin?
I think it's Coughlin.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have a share of him. I don't know. I think he was like 0.09% owned. So, yeah. Congrats to anybody that had him. I was hoping someone might have him just for the novelty of it, plus like Edmonton won, because they probably would have baked the slate by like 40 points. But yeah, weird sport. I can't believe we gamble on this or skill game. I can't believe we skill game on this sport. We got a super chat from our boy Robbie. He says, "Let's kill it today. Thanks to the guys that make this work. Josh times 2, Jake and Cliffy. Let's kill it tonight." All right, let's do it, Robbie. And Clayton, not to be outdone. Clayton with another $5 super chat. He's got a question right off the bat. If you are not an MME player, what is the best way to utilize Fantasy Cruncher? As a guide or template, he asks. I would say, yeah, you kind of answered your own question. I would just use FC if you're not MMEing. I would still make a handful of lineups, whether it's 20 lineups, 100 lineups, and just kind of go through them and see. You can figure out which lineup construction is going to be the most popular. Are people going to spend up at defenseman? Are people going to pay down? Are there a couple of good punts? You can find all the value plays and potentially get some pivots off of that. So how would you deal with that? I mean, you're a 20 max player, but you still use FC, right?
Oh yeah, that's how I build my lineups every day. One thing that I do like to do is kind of like you said, is make more lineups than you need. And then just kind of go through. I do that because I use my own projections for my lineups. So what I do at the start of every day is I do a crunch. Like I'll set caps on a small slate. I'll set like 50%. On a large slate, I'll set like 25% or something like that. And then I'll just run it with standard 3-3s and just see what my projections say to me before I do any adjustments, before I do any ice time adjustments, before I do home away, that type of thing. I just want to see what my projections say initially. And that kind of guides me for the rest of the slate, because like you said, generally where my projections will go are kind of the same spots where a lot of other people will go, because we were all working with more or less the same numbers and the same information. So it's kind of a guide to where to go and where not to go as well.
Yeah. We got another super chat. I mean, 3 right off the bat. Bang, bang, bang. Jim Steele says, Jake, thanks for your help in Slack. Yeah, anytime. And it's not just me. I certainly can't take much of the credit. There's a bunch of guys, sharp subscribers, sharp content providers. Cliffy's in there all the time. Josh, both Joshes are in there all the time helping people out. It's a good community we've built. So feel free to join if you got questions about any of the packages. Awesemo.com/join. Or you can just DM me on Twitter. You don't have to be a premium sub. I'll get back to you pretty promptly, as long as it's not right before lock, as I always say. Because I see some trickle in, and then sometimes I read it quick and forget about it. So, just feel free to hit me up. If you guys got any questions, always looking to help out, help some more people get into NHL DFS. It's been a lot of fun so far this season. So hopefully you guys watching this are having a successful season. I said that correctly this time, that word. Didn't trip up over myself. Been practicing that one over the last few days, Cliffy, as I'm sure you told everybody about.
Your practice shows.
Yeah. All right. Someone asked about NBA. It is, Josh says I never answers DMs. That's not true. Me and Josh DMing all the time. Someone asked what NBA was. You are not going to be cheated for NBA content today. As usual, we're going to have 3 hours after this. I think Tyler potentially may be producing some of the shows after this. So no, maybe he's not tomorrow. Okay. He's got some, I can't tell what he's
like
saying.
Pictionary on.
Yeah. It's like, what's that game? Charades? The late slate. All right. So he's going to be sticking around. He'll be grinding some NHL. And I think that's his first appearance on the NHL DFS strategy show. So welcome, Tyler. All right. NBA coming on right after this, 4 Eastern, 3 hours up through lock. Feel free to go check that out. Subscribe to the channel. You'll know when those guys go live. You'll know when we go live. All right. We got one more super chat, and then we actually have to start because we've got 10 games here. Darren Clary, he banked, I think it was about 25K, 35K. I can't remember what it was. It was a lot of money the other night. And the spin took down 3rd and 4th. Said wanted to show some more love today. Let's take down something tonight. That's what we're trying to do, man. Congrats again on your big night. Good time to run hot. And he's been working really hard. Been DMing me a few times throughout the season and putting in the work. So glad to see him get rewarded in the spin the other night. All right, let's start with the Rangers and the Bruins. 2.4 implied total for the Rangers, 3.1 for the Bruins. Alexander Georgiev against Yaroslav Halak. DeBrusk back in the lineup for the Bruins. He was a healthy scratch a couple nights ago. He's going to slot in with Krejci and Nick Ritchie on PP2. I wasn't getting to a lot of Boston here, but maybe you can talk me into some here, Cliffy. What do you like?
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually messaged Josh Harris about 10 minutes before we came on the air, and I said, I didn't mean to, but I have 0 Boston 1 on this slate. And it's not like I don't like the spot or I think the price is out of line or something like that. It's just the way my crunches worked out. I ended up with 0 Boston 1 on the slate. Now, when I try to break down why that might be, I think a big thing is the power play, right? The Boston, they're all correlated on the power play, and they were one of the best power plays in the league last year, like top 3, if I'm not mistaken. That power play hasn't looked quite the same this year. Just over the last month, they're outside the top 10 by expected goals for. They're close to the bottom of the league in actual goals for. This isn't a great power play. And, David Pasternak missed the first month of the season. Brad Marchand came into the season injured. Matt Grzelcyk is running the power play because Torrey Krug is gone. There have been some changes there. So maybe that's factoring in a little bit, but this is a great matchup for Boston 1 at 5-on-5, but 1, the power play hasn't been as good this year. And 2, they're not drawing many opportunities. They're 26th in the NHL in power play opportunities per game. And the Rangers are outside the top 10 by time shorthanded. So I think it's one of those things where they don't have, they obviously still have the upside. I don't want to say they don't have the upside because that's greatly misleading. But it seems like the power play isn't nearly as good as it was last year. And I think that kind of lowers the upside from what it was last year. Now, I wrote up David Pasternak in the Power Plays article this morning. It's not like I think, like I said, I think this is a good spot for Boston, but I think On a slate this large at a price that heavy, I think you want to look for somewhere where the spot is great. And I don't think particularly that this is a very good Boston power play matchup. So don't have much from them. Do have some of the second line. I do like DeBrusk and Krejci there with Richie. DeBrusk and Krejci have a history of performing very well together. The Rangers depth, like there's nothing to be concerned about there. And I find it's a good filler line if you want to fit in something more expensive later on, like we'll talk about Washington power play or something like that. So I'm going to have, I won't say no Boston one, but if I have any Boston one, it'll be very little, maybe one or two lineups. Nothing from the Rangers for me. Probably some Boston 2 as filler stacks.
Yeah, Boston 2, nice and cheap there. Might come in a little bit overowned, but I mean, it's a 10-game slate. It's not overly likely that you're going to be duplicated even in the largest field tournaments tonight. If you want to play Boston 1, it's, they've got over a 3 implied total. They're going up against the Rangers. The Rangers haven't been terrible defensively, as terrible as they have in years past. They're just really expensive. And so I think they're getting squeezed out. If you look at the top stacks tool, you're really going to like Boston if you didn't already before. Boston 1, that is highest leverage team, highest positive leverage team on the top stacks tool. But right now I'm not getting to a whole lot of them. I think on the Rangers side, you could go to $4,200 Trouba if you wanted. And then that's really all I've got for defensemen tonight. You got anything else here?
I mean, Zaboral got up over 20 minutes in their last game. So I think he's been pretty consistently around that range. So if you want to punt with Jacob Zaboral, I think that's fine on the Boston side. I think McAvoy kind of makes sense as a one-off here tonight. Boston if Boston doesn't blow the doors off, but just wins it like a little 3-1 game, he's going to play like 25 minutes or whatever. Figures he might get in. So I don't mind McAvoy as a one-off, but I'll probably just dump down to Zaboral, and I agree with you on Trouba.
All right, let's go to Pittsburgh and Buffalo. 3.4 implied total for the Penguins, 2.6 for the Sabres. Tristan Jarry and Jonas Johansson I saw was likely. Doesn't matter too much. I don't think you're playing a lot of the Buffalo goalie here with the 3.4 implied total against. Penguins going with Crosby, Gensel, Rust. You've seen that line a number of games this season. Malkin with Rodriguez and Kasperi Kapanen. No Eichel for the Sabres. He's going to be out at least another week. So Cousins with Hall and Reinhart, Stahl, Olofsson, and Riley Sheehan. It's line 2. Skinner moves up to line 3. PP2 I'm seeing. I don't even know if that's accurate. Anyways, we saw Buffalo had some success against the Flyers the other night. Do you see them replicating that here, or is this all Penguins for you?
I'm not going to say it's all Penguins. I have one share of the Buffalo top line of Cousins, Hall, and Reinhart for this reason that I don't know what the matchups are going to be because this is Buffalo's first home game with Eichel out of the lineup. Now, I suspect that they wouldn't want to put Dylan Cousins up against Sidney Crosby for 15 minutes. But at the same time, it's not as if you really want to put Eric Stahl and Victor Olofsson up against Crosby for 20 minutes. So I'm putting in maybe 1 or 2 shares of Cousins, Reinhart, and Hall, just in case they jump down and get that Pittsburgh 2 matchup, because I think it could be a good matchup. Like, one thing I want to mention here is like Dylan Cousins is a highly touted prospect, right? Like he was a guy that was on Calder list before the season started, assuming he could stay in Buffalo's top 6, get some top PP minutes, look great at the World Juniors. And he's not Jack Eichel, but he's not replacing a 100% Jack Eichel, right? Like it's obvious Eichel has been playing injured for a while. He's replacing an 80% Jack Eichel. So can he replace that production? I think, it's at least a reasonable question to ask. So I do like that Buffalo top line a little bit here tonight, like not much. Like if you're in a 150, you probably need 5 lineups at the most. But I think for me, this is about Pittsburgh 1 numbers this year, just flat out outstanding. We talked about it all often on the show. So far this year, 2.6 expected goals for per 60, 3.3 actual goals for per 60 minutes. And whether it's Cousins or whether it's the Stahl line, Pittsburgh top line should be able to run them over. I think our ownership has actually gone down a bit on them through the day, because I think when I was doing my Power Plays article this morning, I wrote them up for the Power Plays articles over on Awesemo.com. When I wrote them up, they were closer to 16%, and now they're down to about 12, 13%. So less ownership is good for us. Bring me in on the Pittsburgh power play. Probably nothing much from Buffalo other than very light on the top line.
Yeah, you mentioned the ownership that just got updated right as we went live. Ownership and top stacks, and then NHL projections are going to be free for everyone today. So if you're looking to see what's behind the paywall, NHL projections is the free piece of premium content that we got unlocked. If you're playing NBA, ownership projections are unlocked, and MMA projections if you're looking to play some UFC this weekend. Pittsburgh won. You mentioned it. I mean, it's Pittsburgh one night for me. Right now, they're my highest exposed stack. I think a pretty good chance to end up there, if not 2 or 3, if I flatten things out a little bit. Yeah, they're just amazing at 5-on-5. They are fully correlated. They're going up against a depleted Buffalo squad. I mean, Matt Irwin's on their top pair right now. So Buffalo's having some issues. 3.4 total against. You can throw in Letang if you want. I don't think a lot of my Pit 1 lineups will have Letang, but he's fine as an add-in. 6,400 is a tough price for him when you're already playing an expensive Pit 1. You could go full power play stack, though, and include Letang with Malkin. I probably will have a couple of those as well, some like 5-2-1s with the Penguins onslaught here. But yeah, Pit 1 right now, let's see. On DK, they are the highest owned stack on the slate, not by a lot, only 3 teams in double digits right now, 3 stacks in double digits, and they are one of them. But I think chalk for good reason. So I'm with it. Anyone on the blue line before we get to the next game?
Not particularly. Like Rasmus Ristolainen is the guy that I kind of wanted to talk about because he jumped onto the top power play unit with like they replaced Jack Eichel with Rasmus Ristolainen, and he got up to 24 minutes. So like if you want to play Risto for absolutely no ownership for 24 minutes, I think it's fine. But other than that, it's just correlate my defenseman or move along.
All right, before we get to the next game, I want to talk about our brand new sponsor, Jock Market, which has turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. Our producer, Tyler, was talking about how he was playing some Jock Market the other night, thought he was playing for real money, and turns out he was not. So there are some free games over there, but you're going to want to play for some money, especially because we've got an exclusive promo code for the Awesemo community, Awesemo NHL 50. No spaces, just Awesemo NHL 50. That's a $50 deposit bonus, up to $50 on your first deposit. So Awesemo NHL 50, an exclusive offer on Jock Market for the Awesemo community. Go take advantage of that if you haven't checked it out. Might as well get that free $50 deposit bonus. All right, let's go to, there it is. I was waiting for it. Devils, Islanders, 2.1 implied total for the Devils, 3.2 for the Isles. Blackwood, Varlamov, your expected goalies. I don't know that we've got confirmation either way, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Is this Isles 1 night? Is this Isles 2 night? Is this Isles onslaught night? And then how are you treating the Devils line since we don't really know what's going on there?
I mean, I don't even think it's ever Isles onslaught night, even in Showdown. Like, sorry, man.
Just breaking my heart right off the bat.
I know. It's tough love, man. I had to say it. But it is Islanders 1 night. And the reason for that is Islanders 2 has typically been taking the top competition from the opposition when they're at home. Tonight, assuming they go with the lines that they finished with last game, that'd be Palmieri, Zaka, and Hughes. And then the rest of the lineup, I don't think you really have to worry about matchup-wise with all their injuries, like especially with Nico Hischier still out of the lineup. So assuming Isles 2 can take care of Hughes and Palmieri, that leaves the rest of the depth up for Islanders 1. And I absolutely love that for Islanders 1. So they are definitely one of my favorite stacks of the night. Beyond that, I don't know what I want to do with the defenseman in this game is the problem, because I saw Noah Dobson was shoved off the power play. Like, you talk about how Ryan Pulock kind of really hasn't looked like himself on the power play or, with his shot volume this year. So I'm kind of at a loss about what to do with the power play, especially where New Jersey has a bad penalty kill, one, and allow a pile of shots from the middle of the ice on the penalty kill, which is Ryan Pulock territory, right? So I'm kind of at a loss about what to do with him. So I think I'm just going to put him in like if I have 5 out of 20 Islanders lineups, I might put him in like 2 and then leave 3 with just a full stack, or throw in like Beauvillier because he's getting some run with him on the power play or something like that. But I am in on this Islanders top line. Honestly, I think the Islanders genuinely have 3 playable lines here tonight. And depending on what you want to do with the rest of your lineups, I think you can use any of the 3, right? Like, even going into Hughes and Palmieri isn't a terrible matchup. Like, it's still the New Jersey Devils. This is a bottom 5 team in hockey. So, it doesn't matter 1, 2, or 3 which Islanders line you want to use. I think they're all in good matchups tonight. But like myself specifically, especially where I want to take advantage of the Jersey penalty kill, I'm going to focus more on Islanders 1. Like I said, I'm going to have Pulock in some, Pulock not in some. That's probably about it. Right before the show, I threw in 1 New Jersey lineup. I did put in a Hughes and Palmieri just on the off chance that they are together in warmups. Like, it's not a great matchup. The Islanders are very good defensively. They don't take any penalties. I just want to be able to get Hughes and Palmieri at like 1%. Assuming that is a duo in warmups. We'll see when warmups hit. But in general, this is all about Islanders 1 for me.
And when warmups hit, it's going to be potentially a scramble. We'll see what happens with all these lines. I think we've got confirmation on most teams, or at least we have a good idea of what they're going to do. New Jersey is not one that we know about just based on what they did. So yeah, Hughes Palmieri could be a really low owned duo, both on power play 1. And if they're together at 5-on-5, we got them at about 1% right now. So not bad to take a couple stabs there in some large field stuff. It is Isles 1 night for me as well. I'll have some Isles 2, but it's mostly about Isles 1. Their priority for me, they might end up as my highest owned stack tonight, up there with Pitt 1 with Toronto. We'll get to them later, but yeah, you guys know my Isles 1 take. I don't need to regurgitate that here. And then I'm in agreement with you on Pulock. If you want to add him in, that's fine. Just based on how he's looked this season, his shot rate is pretty low, below a 12 individual Corsi 4/60 at all strengths so far this season. Just not really the same guy that we've seen in the past couple of years, where I would have loved to play him at 5,100, but here I'm just kind of indifferent on him. Let's go to the Caps and the Flyers. We've got a 3 implied total on both sides. Samsonov, is it Samsonov or Samsonov? Because
Samsonov, like Samsonite and Dumb and Dumber, but I guess you don't watch movies.
Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
There you go. No, I'm kidding. I think I've seen that when I was younger, but I don't remember it that much. Brian Elliott for the Flyers. I don't have much of anything in this game. I want to say it's because of the pricing. Maybe one line on the Flyers, actually, that I'm getting to a little bit. But what do you like here, if anything? Good totals on both sides, but I'm struggling to find stuff I like.
Yeah, I get the hesitation on this game a little bit. I put in a bunch of Washington too, mainly because my projections and my run this morning told me to put in a bunch of Washington too. Like I told you a while ago, I'm going to stop arguing with my projections and just kind of go with what my numbers tell me. And they gave me a ton of Kuznetsov, Vrana, Ovechkin, Karlsson stacks today. Remember we talked about the Washington power play, how they're kind of splitting 2 units now, and Ovechkin plays both of them. So even though like Vrana and Kuznetsov aren't on the same power play together, like you can put Ovechkin with them and you get correlation between the 3 of them. Like Ovechkin is a correlation conduit for them. So I really like Vrana and Kuznetsov. Like Travis Konechny and Scott Lawton are flanking Kevin Hayes. That's expected to be the matchup. Like Lawton and Konechny are not good defensive players. Like, I'm sorry. Kevin Hayes is, but he can't carry an entire line by himself. And we talked about Kuznetsov impacts this year on the last show. He has been absolutely phenomenal. Jacob Vrana, like his problem is just ice time, right? Like he's going to score like 20 goals this year playing 14 minutes a night in 56 games. It's absolutely crazy what they're doing to him. But it's a good matchup at a reasonable price. And, you know, Vrana and Kuznetsov makes a decent two-man if you want to fit in some more expensive stacks. We talked about Pittsburgh. We'll get to teams like Dallas and Chicago later. I kind of like just Kuznetsov and Vrana as a two-man, but I also like Kuznetsov, Vrana, Ovechkin, Karlsson, mixing those guys in as some sort of power play stack up here against the Flyers. The one thing that worries me is Washington isn't really drawing a lot of power plays this year. They're in the bottom 5 in the league. So they really have to make hay with the ones they get. But Philly's penalty kills looked pretty shady at times this year. So I'm not super concerned about it. The one thing that stood out to me with Philly is actually the third line. Lindblom, Giroux, Voracek. Yes. They got a lot of ice time last game. If I'm not mistaken, both Giroux and Voracek were over 20 minutes.
They were.
Yeah, so like Philly 3 actually makes the most sense to me as a stack in this game. Like I know going up against Eller, Panic, and Sheary like isn't exactly what you want. But I think Lindblom makes that a good line. They're relatively cheap. They probably shouldn't see much ownership. And if the ice time last game is anything to go by, they're going to get more ice time than the Hayes and Connecting line. So I'm not in much on the Flyers tonight. But if I were, it would probably be that Voracek, Giroux, and Lindblom line. For me, it's more about Washington 2/Washington power play stacks here.
Yeah, Philly 3 was the one that I was going to mention. So glad you mentioned them. Just a ton of ice time. Voracek led the team in ice time at all strengths in their last game. So maybe that doesn't keep up, but you know, they're going to play a lot. And then you get the secondary power play time with Giroux and Voracek. Lindblom is just dirt cheap, all pretty low ownership as well, going up against this Caps depth. I just have a problem playing Washington 1 when they've got a bad 5-on-5 matchup. They're one of the more expensive lines of the night. 18-9. I guess Oshie and Backstrom are priced down a little bit, but I think you talked me into like some sort of power play stack. Kuznetsov, Vrana, Ovi, and Karlsson, you said, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like I think makes sense.
I like that idea a little bit better because then you get Kuznetsov and Vrana not against the Couturier line. You get Karlsson, $6,500, and if he does well on the power play, it's probably due to Ovechkin. So I think that's a pretty good correlated four-man there that I like. So I'll try to add those in. I don't know how I'll make that work on Fantasy Cruncher. Maybe I'll have to do that by hand, but I'll figure something out there for this Caps 2 plus Ovi. Defensemen rarely ever have anything on the Flyer side. Provorov, Gostisbehere, both 4,700. And then, I don't know, Dmitry Orlov, 2,500. Is he a min-salary guy you'd be willing to?
Yeah, I have him in a few lineups just because of his price. I mean, Eric Gustafsson, I think, got some power play minutes last game as well, so I don't mind throwing him in, but he only played like 13 or 14 minutes overall, I'm pretty sure. So I think Gustafsson would be a guy I wouldn't one-off. I'd put him in, in my Giroux Voracek stack or something like that.
Nice. All right, let's go to the Preds and the Hurricanes. 2.3 implied total for the Preds, 3.3 for the Canes. It's probably going to be Rene. It's probably going to be James Reimer. No Yossi, no Ellis. I think that is all. Those are two massive losses.
And no Fabro.
Side. What's that?
No Fabro.
Fabro too. Oh, he's suspended. Yeah. Couple big suspensions lately. I guess this was only a couple of games. We had drunk Tom Wilson in the YouTube chat saying free Tom Wilson. So then maybe, correlate those two. But no Fabro. So that's 3 out of their top 4 defensemen. They've got Jeremy Davies up there, Boro, Matt Benning, Ben Harper, Matthias Ekholm, really the only defenseman of note. He's 5,600. And then you got some injuries. One big injury on the Hurricanes side. No Vincent Trocheck. We did see some lines. I don't know how much of it was speculation, but it was basically that Aho was going to go with Niederreiter and Martin Necas, and then Stahl with Svechnikov and Jesper Fast. So basically the third line stays the exact same. Call that the second line now. And then the Canes are a little bit weaker, their bottom 6 forwards. But how are you treating this game? It feels like a pretty good spot for the Canes.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep sending out the stall line against the opposing top competition like they have been lately. So that'll take care of that Forsberg line for us. And then that gets Aho and Niederreiter and those guys into the depth of Nashville. And you just went through the lengthy injuries that they have on the blue line. Like, if you're going to get Aho and Niederreiter and Natchez, 10 to 15 minutes against Mark Borowiecki and Matt Benning and Ben Harper, like, these guys were too bad to stay on Ottawa, okay? Like, Ottawa shipped out two of those guys because they were too bad for the Ottawa blue line. Like, this is I think it's a great matchup for Carolina. The one thing that's worth talking about is what they're going to do on the power play, right? Because Trocheck's out and Teravainen's out. Like, those would be the guys that would kind of substitute for each other on the power play. Now, like, I'm assuming it's going to end up someone like Natchez. Like, it's got like I'm assuming it's going to be one of Natchez or Niederreiter. Like, they're not going to throw like Martinook or McGinn or something on the top power play. I don't think so. Like, it makes me like that Aho, Niederreiter, Natchez line a whole lot more. They're the line that I'm attacking of this game. Like I said, they should get the depth from Nashville. And with all those injuries to the blue line, there is no depth in Nashville. So I love the Aho, Niederreiter, Natchez line. I think it's a better question to ask what to do with the defenseman. Do you correlate Aho with Dougie, or do you correlate potentially both Natchez and Niederreiter with someone like Jake Bean or Brett Pesce? I think that kind of where it becomes a more interesting conversation for Carolina. On the Nashville side, like, I don't get the ownership. Like,
they just project well, even with the low total. That's
I know, but I don't get the ownership, right? We have them as our second highest owned line on the entire slate. I don't get it. I get playing them. They are a line that has a lot of success together in the past. Mm-hmm. And if this team is going to score, it's probably going to come from that line. So I get playing them. But at the same time, like, if they come in 13 to 15% ownership on a 10-game slate on the road, like, I have absolutely no problem fading Nashville tonight.
Yep, I am on the same page with Nashville. Stall line, bad matchup. They don't have good defensemen. Like, how are they going to move the puck up? So maybe they just get there on faceoffs in the offensive zone or something. I don't know, but you don't even get full power play correlation on Nashville 1 anymore. It looks like Arvidsson's on the second unit. So a little bit of a downtick there. I think this is Carolina night for me. The Aho line is the one that I am gravitating towards. But I also like the second line too. Stahl with Svechnikov, get two guys on the top power play. You can play either Dougie or Pesce or Bean if you wanted to. So abundance of options on the Hurricanes. I think I'm going to have some 5-man power play stacks. The problem is just, do I include Niederreiter and Natchez on that top power play? So maybe a little bit of both. If you wanted to make both those guys PP1 and just get some mix of guys where you've got even strength and power play correlation in some fashion, that's not a bad idea either. So Dougie, 6,700. Our highest owned player on the slate, I think I agree with it. He's my highest owned player right now. One off him, you can play him with either stack. I mean, he just makes sense for a lot of different reasons. So all over him. There's no Yossi tonight. Top defensemen aren't great for the rest of the slate. So, I'm all over Dougie tonight. Anything else here?
No, I'm just trying to figure out where the minutes are going to go for Nashville. Like, Ekholm's obviously going to get a ton. Like, I think Matt Benning would be the best bet to get 20 minutes plus. So if you want to hope that, his body gets in front of 3 shots and get the block bonus on DK, I think Matt Benning is the guy to go for, but it's a mess.
Yeah. The Boro disrespect is unreal. I don't know. Is Boro good?
No.
Okay.
Like,
I have no idea.
I think he's definitely one of those good in the locker room guys, and he's definitely like a good guy off the ice. I question his value as an NHL defenseman.
Fair enough. Let's go to Florida and Columbus, 2.9 implied total for the Panthers. Actually, hold on. Before I get to this game, I think I missed a very important note here on our run sheet. We are celebrating the NBA's second half. And while this is an NHL show, you guys can all take advantage of our promo. It is 50% off an Awesemo Plus weekly pass when you use promo code SHAMROCK. So that is SHAMROCK. $15 for Awesemo Plus gets you access to all the sports, including NBA, PGA, NHL, NASCAR, soccer, esports, and then last but not least, college basketball projections, which just went behind the paywall. So you get access to all that, a little March Madness in there. And this offer is only valid through Wednesday, 3/17. That is March 17th. I think that's the day the NCAA tournament starts. Maybe mistaken there, but a little checked out over there. But use that promo code SHAMROCK, 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's a really good deal. Go take advantage. Florida, Columbus, 2.9 implied total for the Panthers, 2.6 for the Jackets, Bobrovsky and Elvis Merzlikins. What are we doing with this one here? Very tilting Blue Jackets team. They changed the lines on us 2 nights ago. They could easily do it again. We saw Nash with Bjorkstrand and Line. I saw Roslovic was up there a little bit towards the end of the game. I think it was the end of the game. Panthers, same old story here. Low ownership. We liked the power play 2 nights ago. So are you going back to the Panthers power play here?
I mean, I don't think so, because these are 2 teams that really just don't take a lot of penalties or draw a lot of opportunities, right? We saw 7 combined power plays in the last game, which is about league average. Like, I think the league average right now is about 6.3 per game. So, a little, it's binary. It's going to be 6 or 7, but it's not like, I think 7's about the most that we can ask for. And, these are 2 teams in the bottom 10 by time shorthanded per game. Like, Columbus is 29th, Florida's 23rd. Neither team really draws a ton of power play opportunities, like both outside the top 15. So I am I'm not out on Florida. I am power play stacking them. I just think I'm going to try to, kind of compose myself here a little bit. I think it's a great matchup for them at 5-on-5. I think it's a bad matchup for them at special teams. I think there could be enough goals here that if you power play stack them, you could still get there even if the power play goes bust. So that's why I'm kind of in on Florida here. Like I mentioned it in chat earlier today, Columbus has only allowed 2 fewer goals than Detroit on the entire year. Like if this was Florida, just replace Columbus with Detroit in your head. If this was Florida going into Detroit, how much ownership would you have on Florida? Like these 2 teams have not been that different defensively this year. So I really do like Florida power play stacking here, just because I want to make sure I get Barkov with Huberdeau or Barkov with Hornqvist or something like that. I don't feel like Barkov and Mason Marchment are going to be a top 2 stack on the night. So, again, we're going to be going with those Jill stacks we talked about the other day, something like Barkov, Marchment, Huberdeau, and Yandel, or Barkov, Verhaeghe, Hornqvist, and Ekblad, or something like that. Something, akin to what we were doing over in Washington, where you're getting both the even strength and the power play matchup. So in on Florida. I'm also in on Oliver Bjorkstrand. I wrote him up as a one-off. He played 19 minutes in the last game, but like you said, he's at the mercy of John Tortorella, right? Like Oliver Bjorkstrand played 19 minutes last game, and he could play 12 minutes tonight. That's just the way it goes when you're using players on a John Tortorella team. But he's 4,200 and projects to play 18 to 20 minutes. So I like Bjorkstrand here as a one-off, but I'm not stacking anything from Columbus.
I thought I'd be a little bit heavy on the Jenner line for the Blue Jackets, but seeing their ownership, they're actually one of the more popular lines of the night. Their role is pretty locked in. You get Foligno, Atkinson on the top power play, so I get why people want to go there, but nothing more than a filler for me. Good price, but going to get the Barkov matchup probably. That's not phenomenal. I like the hybrid stacks you were talking about, the Jill stacks. Some sort of Barkov with the good wingers, whether you take one from his line and then Hornqvist or Huberdeau, take a defenseman. And yeah, I think they can score 3 or 4 at even strength here. So even if they don't get there on the power play, Columbus been surprisingly terrible or not great at 5-on-5. So you mentioned the spot against Detroit. I think I slammed Florida against Detroit and had one of my better nights of the season. So when you put it like that, I mean, yeah, just load up on that Florida power play, I guess, even though you're more just stacking them with Barkov and then playing their best guys. So got no issue with that. I've been doing that with Florida a lot, trying to avoid our boy, the second line center for the Panthers, who I will not mention, will not talk ill of him. Gustav Forsling, 2,900. It's Forsling night again, playing 20 minutes, blocking shots, taking some shots on goal. I really like him. He's my favorite punt defenseman tonight at 2,900. I'm sure you were nodding, so you're with that, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I'm in on Forsling night. I'm correlating my Florida defenseman with power plays, but if I need cheap one-off or something, it's Forsling night.
All right. Let's go to
just want to mention real quick, Elvis Merzlikins. He's
like
one of my favorite goalies on the slate. Florida is actually first in the NHL in shot rate over the last month. So as long as they don't put in 5, he might be able to put up a good score.
7,300, 1% ownership. Not a bad call there if you're not playing Florida. Jets, Leafs, 2.8 implied total for the Jets, 3.6 for the Leafs. Hellebuck and Anderson are your expected goalies here. These two just played the other night. Matthews, we were talking about his injury, Josh and I. He had a couple goals, still maybe not at 100%. I'm treating him like he's 100%. I mean, I don't know. I can't get in these guys' heads or these coaches' heads or these organizations' heads. So this is Toronto for me. One of the highest implied total. Actually, I think it's the highest implied total on the night. I think for good reason. Second line's been playing really well. Third line's been playing really well. And then you've got maybe a slightly injured Matthews with Marner top line. So what are your favorite spots here?
So I want to talk about Austin Matthews first because, we have talked about a lot about how he looks injured. I mean, he is injured. The team has talked about it. It's not, this isn't some big secret. If you look at, he did score 2 goals in the last game. But if you look at the 2 goals he scored, one was a deflection standing in front and one was a redirection standing in front. Like these weren't him loading up and wiring wristers from the face-off dot like we usually see from him. So I think like he's good enough to where he can adjust his game and turn himself into a Joe Pavelski type player where he just parks in front of the net and can score goals. I just wouldn't expect him to put up, the same type of shot volume or goal rate that we've seen in the past. Not to say that he's bad, but I think, whether he's worth 9K or whatever anymore is for the first time this season, it's a legitimate question. I'm kind of out on Toronto tonight. Like, I don't think I have a single stack of them. Here's the thing. One, like Paul Stastny has completely turned around that top line. Like Wheeler and Scheifele were just abominable defensively. And then Paul Stastny's joined them. And since then, that line has 57 or 58, 59% expected goal share. Like they've just been absolutely throttling the competition. And then if you look at Winnipeg too, since they put Ehlers and Dubois together, they're at 56% expected goal share. Like this top 6 has been playing phenomenally since they've been assembled. So like, I don't want to draw too much into small samples, but when you're introducing Paul Stastny to the top line, which is a major change, and you're introducing Pierre-Luc Dubois, who is a legitimate top line center, onto the second line, is another big change. So, like, again, I don't want to just throw out the early numbers, but this is kind of a new team. So I'm not super high on Toronto here, especially where Winnipeg doesn't take a lot of penalties. Like, they just don't. Toronto doesn't either. So that's actually what's keeping me off both sides here. Like, I really don't have a lot. I think I have one Winnipeg 2 stack, and that's it. I don't have a lot from this game.
All right. I will say you make good
You're
points.
going to have to carry this game.
No, yeah. I mean, I like these back-to-backs because you can see kind of how the lines win against each other. Toronto won the game. Oh, I'm sorry. Winnipeg won the game. So maybe Toronto switches something up and the matchups are a little bit different for this game. But just looking at the forward lines, natural stat trick, all three of the top lines for the three top lines for Toronto were all really good. 9-0 scoring chances for versus against for the Tavares line, 9-1 for the Matthews line, 10-3 for the Engvall line. And same match a couple of nights ago. Again, maybe they switched some things up. I would like to see Hyman on the top line with Matthews and Marner, but I don't know. That's pretty obvious, I think, for most people that play DFS. But yeah, I like it. I know the Winnipeg top six has been better, but I think the competition is just very stiff right now for them. So I think those might come crashing down to earth in this spot. So I actually have the most exposure right now to Tavares and Nylander. I really like them as a two-man, a little bit lower ownership, but you can mix in, like you can go with the Jill stacks, Tavares, Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, and Marner. There's ways to get creative with these Leafs. One of my favorite third lines, again, is the Engvall line. So I'll be going back to them. But yeah, I guess we're going to be on different sides here. One of us is going to end up crying at the end of the night.
One of us is going to be real sad at midnight tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'll be asleep, so I'll probably won't be sad until like 3 a.m. when I randomly wake up and check my losses from the night before. Anything else here? Are we good to move on?
I just want to mention both Tavares and Nylander got top power play minutes. So I'm not exactly sure who's going to be on the top power play, but it could be either of them.
Robbie, another $2 super chat. He says, this is for Tyler, our producer. He says, let's go, Austin Matthews. $2 for Tyler to buy a black cherry White Claw, the only flavor that should be considered the top flavor. So I don't want to hear any other slander. No black cherry White Claw slander on this show. We're trying to get sponsored, people. So don't slander the claws. Lightning, Red Wings, 3.6 implied total for the Lightning, 2 for the Red Wings. And it's Vasilevsky and probably Bernier, maybe Thomas Greiss. We never know with Detroit until 30 minutes before lock. We are in our first non-7 p.m. Eastern game. We've only got 7 or 8 minutes before we got to get out of here. So anything quick in this game that you like?
Not really. This is another game where I just don't have a lot. I have some Tampa 2, the Stamkos and Killorn duo. They absolutely just demolished the Detroit second line in the game a couple nights ago. And if Detroit goes back to that matchup, they are going to demolish them again. So I do like that Tampa second line with Stamkos and Killorn. They get top power play minutes as well. The Detroit penalty kill is actually fine, but it's still the Tampa power play. So not in on Point and Cirelli, but I am in on Killorn and Stamkos. Like them. I do have them as a two-man with some of my cheaper stacks, and I do like just throwing in Hedman and making it, kind of a power play thing. So do like that. Detroit, I'm out on Detroit. Like I get if you want to use their top line because they're starting to use their top line against the depth from the competition. Unfortunately, tonight that's going to be Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow, so that's not exactly a great matchup at 5-on-5. And Mantha and Larkin still aren't sync. They're still not on the same power play together. Like I'm absolutely losing my mind over here. So yeah, nothing from Detroit, in on Tampa 2.
Yeah, I like Tampa, especially that second line that you mentioned for all the reasons you did. So I think this one's pretty simple. I don't have a ton to add. Tampa's another team you can onslaught stack 2 guys on the top power play from each of the top 2 lines with Hedman, clear top defenseman tonight. If you want to play him over Dougie as a one-off, I don't have an issue with that. I think they're neck and neck tonight. So Hedman right now, my second highest owned defenseman. Tampa, I'm kind of splitting it between the top 2 lines, but I think I'm moving towards a little bit more of the second line, the Stamkos line. So I'll be there. I'll certainly have my fair share of Tampa 1 as well. I don't think I love the spot quite as much as Toronto, but it's right there. Sounds like you really enjoy the Lightning and not so much on the Leafs. So, if the Lightning go off, we'll both be happy, I think. But that last game, I don't know, a little bit dicey. Anything else? Chernak, 3,400?
Yeah, I do like Chernak for his price. He's about it for defensemen in this game, other than correlating my Hedman.
All right, so we're going to have to sprint out of here after these last 2 games. So I just want to mention our sponsor, Jock Market. Go check those guys out. if you guys have not yet. We've got a promo code Awesemo NHL 50. It is an exclusive offer for the Awesemo community, and you can use it on your first deposit, and they'll match up to $50. So that's why the promo is called Awesemo NHL 50. There it is. Ding the bell. $50 on up to $50 on your first deposit. No other site in the industry is doing this right now. So go take advantage while you can. These offers do not really come around, and JockMKT's hooking you up. Also, promo code Shamrock expires the 17th, which I found out is St. Patty's Day after I said that. So the promo is Shamrock, and what you're going to do is you're going to get Awesemo Plus Platinum for just $15 for your first week. Really good deal, especially right when March Madness is going on. You also get NBA, PGA, NHL, NASCAR, MMA, every single sport that we have content for, projections, ownership projections, all that good stuff. $15, really good deal. Blackhawks Stars, 2.5 implied total for the Hawks, 3 for the Stars. Lankinen, Hudobin. What do you like here? Well, anything on the Chicago side? Because I think we both are going to like Dallas.
Yeah, I'm out on Chicago. I was in on them on the last one, but they changed up their lines, and we don't know what the lines are going to be. They had David Kampf playing with Patrick Kane and Dominic Kubalik. Like, those guys don't even play on the power play together. And then DeBrincat with Philip Kurashev and Hagel. If those are the lines, like, those don't interest me at all. If you want to one-off a Kubalik, or a Kane, like, I'm fine with that. I'm just not stacking. I'm in Dallas, stacking the top line, top power play, mixing in some Rope hints. Love Dennis Gurianov again. Miro Heiskanen, he was running the top PP unit. I don't think he's a must because he's not a playmaker like Klingberg is. He's kind of a guy that would finish the play rather than start it. But so if you want to leave him off, that's fine. But I really like the Dallas top line here tonight. Not in so much on Chicago, but I don't mind Calvin DeHaan for a cheap defenseman here. He's going to play over 20 minutes and probably have to block some shots along the way.
Like the DeHaan call, really like the Dallas one call. I think I'll have more than the field right now. Their ownership looks to be in check, and I don't think it's anything against them. I think it's just there's some other spots that people are prioritizing, and that's fine. But I want to prioritize Dallas. I think I'm going to have more of Dallas one than like Washington one, which we talked about, certainly more than Chicago one. I don't get the ownership there besides it being Patrick Kane. So like Dallas here, not really in on Chicago. Heiskanen and Klingberg, I'll have some of both of those guys. But yeah, you mentioned Heiskanen was running the top power play. So he probably goes a little bit better with Dallas one, although Klingberg will skate a lot with them at 5-on-5. So it's not like you can't play Klingberg with Dallas one if you want to differentiate a little bit. Cliffy, fire up your hat trick pick while I introduce this game, and we'll quick blurt them out before we head out. Okay. Montreal and the Calgary Flames, 2.7 implied total for the Canadiens, 2.8 for the Flames, carry price, and Jacob Markstrom. Actually, I think it's going to be Allen. The Canadiens played last night. They throttled Vancouver. If you look at their 5-on-5 numbers, it was insane. So maybe more of the same tonight. I don't like the Calgary line still. Dubé, your boy, up with Lindholm and Tkachuk. That line's not been very good at 5-on-5. Probably going to match one of the lines pretty hard. I mean, do you think they match Toffoli Gallagher? Or I don't know how this is going to go, but I like Montreal. I know that. Yeah,
I'm assuming it's Tkachuk, the Tkachuk line versus Kotkaniemi and Gallagher and Toffoli. And you were right. Yeah, you're right. Calgary won 1.5 expected goals for per 60 this year. That's terrible. 40.3% expected goals share. That's also terrible. 1124 PDO. That's 100 points too high. Like, this is going to come crashing way down to earth. I know I've trashed Dubé before. Well, I'm doing it again because we're running out of time. Kotkaniemi, Gallagher, Toffoli, I'm in on them as well. I do like Gaudreau, Ritchie, and Monahan because Ritchie is super cheap and has a good shot rate, but that's about it. I'm mostly in on Gallagher, Toffoli, Kotkaniemi tonight.
Love it. Yeah, I'm all over them. I love that they got put together. Kotkaniemi's cheap, 3,300. Gallagher priced reasonably. Toffoli a little bit expensive, but this line's not going to have much ownership. And it's not due to them not being very good at 5-on-5. It's just that, they're just going to get forgotten a little bit on the back-to-back with the low total. But I'm going to be trying to jam some of them in and get well over the field. I also think I'll have a little bit of the Dano, Armia, and Tatar line. They might get some of the time against the Backlund line, which is a little bit concerning, but I'll take some stabs there, I think, if you're looking for a cheap third line to pair with your Tampa or Toronto, but Boston one, whatever it is. Hat trick pick, do you got one?
Kyle Connor.
Kyle Connor? Ooh, all right. Going against the Leafs. Man, you really hate the Leafs tonight. I will take Chalk, Anders Lee. I think I picked him earlier in the season. Did not get there, but tonight's Isles one night. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Cliffy and I broke it down for you. It will be Josh and I tomorrow, I believe. It's a Friday, I think. Good luck tonight, everybody. We will check back in 24 hours. Stay on the channel for some NBA coverage leading you up to lock.